What's up everyone? Today's video, I'm going to talk about why it's so important to track our finances. By the end of this video, you're going to know how to track your finances, why it's important, and what to do with the information once you've accumulated it. First of all, it's so important because we know that what can be measured can be managed. I've seen so many people have this issue with their budgets when they write out their expenses, they write out their inflows and their outflows, and everything looks good on paper, right? You know what you're making, you feel like you know what you're spending, but there's a disconnect. Somewhere along the line, at the end of the month, we're not able to save what we allocated for savings, or we just don't have enough to cover everything, and maybe you're going into debt. I've seen it so much. I've been there myself, and until I actually did this, I just could not gain control of my finances. But once I sat down and I tracked my spending, it was like a light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh. This is why I can't gain any control of this, because I was just not spending what I thought I was spending. Of course, I was spending more, which I think everyone knows we're probably spending more than we think we're spending. But the question is, where are we spending it? And on what things? And how do you make cuts and changes to your life when it's like you don't fully understand where your money's going? When I first started out, I printed out 3 months of my past bank statements and I highlighted everything, and I got like really nitty-gritty. I've tried to do that since then and it's like a nightmare. You can do this electronically using an app. That's what I like to do, and that's what I'm gonna do starting in June. I'm doing a 30-day track your spending challenge. So join me on Instagram if you want to sign up for that. I'm really excited, and I'm just gonna hold people accountable that want to join along, and I'm gonna hold myself accountable because it's been a long time since I've done this. It's been a couple years at least. And you know, I think it's important to do every once in a while to kind of reset yourself and say, okay, things have changed in my life, income has changed, outflows have changed, but has my spending changed, and how so? So you can either backtrack your spending by printing out your bank statements, doing some highlighting and putting this into categories. You can use an app like Mint that tracks everything as it goes automatically, and you can go in and categorize things. You can track as you go with a pen and paper, like a little journal, or the way that I'm gonna do it is through an app called Spending, and you just go in there and you type in your spending or your expense immediately. And I like this because it raises awareness in the moment. It also keeps everything really accurate, because sometimes apps like Mint, if you don't go in there the same day and update the categories, it gets confusing and it's not exactly clear. Also, I spend a lot of money through Venmo and like Cash apps. That stuff is hard to track unless you physically go in and write what you're spending on those things. So that's where I feel a lot of my money slips through the crack. And random expenses. I know I spend way too much money on food, but how much? Too much. That brings me to the third point. What are you gonna do with this information once you've accumulated it? I think 30 days is a good figure to help you assess where your money is going. You could just use that as an estimate throughout the rest of the year. If you want to keep on going with it, of course, it's going to get more and more accurate, because you can just, if you do 3 months, you can add those numbers together, divide them by 3 to give you an average, and then multiply that by 12. But if you at least do 1 month, this will give you a good picture. It'll create a habit for you. Anyway, what you do with this information at the end of the month, you're gonna review where did your money go. And I would suggest doing this on a weekly thing so that the end of the month isn't like too chaotic. Just every Sunday, you can sit down and break the numbers into categories and make sure that those are pretty accurate. And the spending app will break it up into a pie chart for you nicely. Once you have this all broken out, then you're gonna sit and reflect on it. You're gonna ask yourself, how do I feel looking at these numbers? Do I feel happy? Do I feel like stressed? Do I feel confused? Do I feel frustrated, angry, mad? How do you feel? And you're gonna take that, and based on those feelings, then you're gonna make changes. If you look at your food category, I just say food because I know that's gonna be my over category, like way over. If you look at that and you say, I feel pretty good about this number. I get a lot of joy from eating out with friends or from the convenience of it, and I feel okay. If you spent a ton of money going out drinking and you didn't really have a good time with it, maybe you had too many hangovers, then you might say, okay, that's an area I feel like I can cut back on, or maybe it's the food, or maybe it's clothes, whatever it is. Find those things that are kind of like yelling at you, like, hey, I don't feel good about this. And then that's where you take that money and allocate it towards savings or bills or whatever it is that your goals are. And you can make some changes going forward. It's gonna take some time though. Be patient with yourself because this process, you've formulated habits. We've all formulated habits on our spending. So it's not gonna change overnight, but the first step is to raise some awareness as to where your money is going. And then use that awareness to reallocate things so it goes towards places that like actually add a lot of value to your life. Because we only have so much money, right? We only have so much time. So we have to be really cognizant of how we're spending our money and our time so that these things bring us joy versus stress in our life. I don't want you to have stress. That's why I created my channel in the first place, because I know how stressful finances can be. And I want to help you with it because just little things like this make big changes and can really help you get your financial life together going forward. After you've assessed where you want to make some changes, then you're going to create a budget based on this and you're going to reallocate money where you want it to go. Take note of where you don't want it to go. So then in the next week or the next month, you're going to say, okay, how do I spend less in this category? Like for myself, last week, I ate out for every single meal. My husband was gone and I was just like not in the mood to cook. I ate out every single meal. And then this week I was like, okay, I cannot repeat what I did last week. So I went to the store and I bought a bunch of frozen food. And I was like, okay, this will be a little bit healthier. It'll be cheaper and it'll probably save me some time anyway. It's not a great solution, right? But it's a step towards where I want to go. I want to spend less on food and I want to eat healthier. But I can't make a drastic change. Like I'm going to meal prep for the whole week. Like, no, I'm freaking not. Like that's just not what I'm going to do. I would like to, but I'll get there with time. All right, so you're gonna use that information, you're gonna create a budget, and then you're going to implement that budget going forward. And tracking the spending kind of needs to go hand in hand because next month you're gonna have to do the same thing unless you're just one of those people that can overnight make some changes, but most likely you probably still have to track, you'll have to reassess, and you'll have to make some tweaks. But getting in this habit will really help you down the road to having a stress-free, happy financial life, getting some money in the bank, and just becoming a financial badass. Let me know in the comments below how you're tracking your spending, how it's going for you, and if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to help. See you on the next video. Bye.